Kia ora, I'm Erin J. Doyle. Welcome to my channel and day 20 of NaNoWriMo. It is 8:30 in the morning, which means we've got half an hour before meeting my friend for hiking up the mountain, as is our Saturday tradition. This is not starting out well. So anyway, have half an hour. Am I going to use it for editing? Do I use it for rest? I'm going to use it for rest actually, because when I get back I'll want to use the entire rest of the day for moving on to the list, which has grown substantially and gone missing. Oh, there it is. So I think last time I was showing the list it was a full page and then like one thing on the next page. Now it's almost half a page on the second page, so I've got a few more things to do. Some of it's super minor though. Like one of the things on here is to double check to see if I've said backpack as one word or two. So some of it's super minor. Some of it is really big. Can't really give a good example of something big, can I? Yeah, okay, so I've got things here like I need to introduce like a whole scene to allow for the specific thing to happen. It won't fit in with any of my existing scenes, which is a lot. You know, I've got things like, at the moment my character briefly encounters these three girls, and then days later encounters one of them again, and I feel like the gap of time in between those encounters is actually probably too big for the reader, so I need to put a third encounter somewhere in the middle so that when the main character encounters one of these girls later on, you kind of have a better idea of who she is, because previously it was like vague mention of them only once chapters earlier. So anyway, time for a break, I think. Have done the walk, come home, showered, had lunch, read a book, watched a video, gone for another walk. Obviously much time has passed. All of this was essential for the, obviously, not being covered in sweat and being hungry and things, self-care important. And then the second walk had to be to go to the shops and get cold drinks and candy. This is required, like required, because I've realised the reason I haven't actually started working on my book yet is because I'm tired and I'm grumpy and I don't want to. So I feel like the proportion of my day which is going to be dedicated to writing is going to go down, and the proportion of my time which is going to be dedicated to just doing whatever I want, even if it's nothing, is going to have to go up. And this is going to have to happen because otherwise, A, it's not joyful hobby, it's horrible, painful slog. But also, I just generally had a really rough week. Like work stuff was quite kind of mentally and emotionally taxing. So I think that's why I'm just, now that I don't have to do stuff for work, I'm like, oh no, I'm just going to stop altogether. No more doing of any stuff at all. It's not great for the productivity, but it is nonetheless where we are up to, and we're just going to embrace that. What I am going to do first of all is pull up my story tracking spreadsheet and go through and maybe pick out some of the easier fixes or double checkings that I need to address so that I can ease myself into this next phase of the editing with something that's on the easier side. So this is the story tracking spreadsheet that I started NaNoWriMo with. I do discuss this in some detail in this video, so if you haven't seen that, the gist of it is I've got specific information in each column that allowed me to keep track of what information was learned or what events were occurring in each chapter as I was writing it, and then I have color coded it so that I can kind of easily visualize what is happening. So the pink and the pale yellow here are both to do with edits that are required, and then the other shade of yellow, the orange, the green, and lower down the blue are to do with the story. Two of these are to do with kind of external to the character events, and two of them are more about the character's internal journey. Obviously I wish I to be telling you which is which. What I decided over the last couple of weeks is that this was actually too simple, so I've updated it, and now we have this. This is not complete, this is kind of a work in progress. It will be further filled in as I continue with my edits, but for now this is where I'm up to. So you can see some of the things which were previously highlighted as needing me to come back and fix them are no longer highlighted yellow or pink because it's done. Hooray! We also have some additional colours though. So in addition to the two external plot things and the two internal things, I have added events which are to do with relationships. I realised as I was reading through this that if I were inclined to dissect the story apart and look for themes and symbolism, I would find friendship. So I decided to mark sections where characters interacting was really important, like friendship elements mattered. And this actually meant that many chapters where previously I hadn't highlighted them as falling into one of my pre-existing choices of plot, those four colours, now I could actually colour them. Like, okay, this chapter might not have anything to do with the character's internal journey or any of the external events, but actually there's a whole bunch of relationship stuff. So that's kind of helping me see more chapters as having value. Relationships do matter, so I think that was a good choice. The other thing I've done is introduce purple as a colour. Obviously I've only just done this like yesterday, so there will be more purple in the coming days. Purple is to do with major Camino milestones. I wanted to do this because my character is travelling a path which does have very specific milestones. Like when you reach the halfway point of the Camino Francés, which is the version of the Camino de Santiago that my character is walking, when you reach the halfway point, there are actual big markers. Like there are things that you can go and see that say, like, this is the halfway point. Amusingly, there are actually two, and they are reasonably far apart. When you arrive like at the outskirts of this town, there's an old church, and there is like a stone, I was gonna say monument, I guess it's a monument, stone thing that you can walk through the middle of. And everyone says, oh, like, this is the midpoint, and there's sort of Latin-y bits that people who speak Latin were saying, oh yes, that definitely says it's the midpoint, hooray for us, we've walked halfway. and then you walk into the town, and on your way out you walk past a big rock and a plaque in bronze saying, oh look, you've reached the halfway point. So maybe there are two halfways, or maybe there was like the two halfways, that doesn't make sense. Maybe it's like this was the halfway point, but then they remeasured it and the halfway point's actually slightly further into the town, or something. I don't know what the history is there, but so the point is, getting distracted, the point is, if my character is passing something like that, something very, very recognizable, something that is going to be discussed or acknowledged or celebrated by the characters, I want to mark that in the spreadsheet as well, because the fact that my character is on a journey through an area is part of the story. It might be that a chapter doesn't have progress of like her internal journey or some of the other external things, but if the chapter is just, you know what, she arrives at this important location and experiences like, you know, this important thing that all pilgrims experience in some way, that's important to the story. So I wanted to keep track of those events as well. So that is how the spreadsheet is updated. If you're wondering what the boxes just here are, this is the key. It was okay when I just had 4 things to keep track of, but now there's more. The other change you'll notice is that in the original version, each box, each column was obviously one box, where here I've actually put each column is broken up into 4 individual cells. That way I can make one chapter multiple colours, because I realised that I was colouring the boxes for whatever was kind of the predominant thing, but quite often, particularly with the secondary events, there were more than one of them. So if I was trying to keep track of when certain things relevant to different plots were brought up, it wasn't very clear in that spreadsheet. This is potentially random busy work, but it's allowing me to visually see the progress that I've made. I can see at a glance that a lot of the pink that is filling up the middle of the story in the original version is gone later on. There is, don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of pink to be found, but with the introducing of a grey to represent relationships, some of that, oh there's nothing much here, ness has now vanished. Obviously this is still a work in progress, but some of the issues that I discussed in the previous video are obviously resolved, and you can see that by the colours. For example, if we look at the end of the story originally, it was predominantly blue, whatever the blue plot happens to be, a little bit of green, some yellow, and one mention of orange, but it is not in the last 5 chapters. Whereas if we go over to the new version, again there's a little bit of orange, but not towards the very, very end. Still lots and lots of blue, but there's a lot more green, there's a lot of grey there, so you can kind of get an idea actually there's more going on in terms of more types of plot things and more to do with relationships than the previous spreadsheet suggested. So I do think this is much more informative. Hopefully that also means more useful. But yeah, that's what I've done. Mail time. Not the package I was expecting. This is something I ordered in September, like early September, maybe even in August, but I think September. You'll see my slight irritation in a moment. So do we. The 20th of November, and I have just received the leggings that I ordered for Halloween. It's fine. There's no reason I couldn't wear them. I mean, they're just skeletons. But I suspect they will probably remain in the bag until October next year. And then the other one is more day-to-day ones. I ripped the bag. Woo! And check out the artwork. I love it. It is 2:30 and enthusiasm has finally been found. So what I'm going to do is start working on the list of fixes needed that's in my story tracking spreadsheet. I've got that pulled up on my small screen and I'm going to be working primarily on my big screen, so I can just have the things that need to be done sitting right there and I can just refer back and forth. I'm going to start trying to work them in order from chapter 1 downward, but leave a lot of room for skipping ones that are hard, because they just might need a bit more thinking about, and I want to make tangible progress today. I think that will help the enthusiasm. I'm also going to be doing this within the context of some sprints that are currently streaming. Obviously I'm not going to bother telling people my word counts and things, but at least I can kind of feel like I'm participating in the community. So that's the plan. It is 4 o'clock and I have ticked one of the things off my big giant to-do list. Hooray! Stuck on the next thing, and it's again one of the things which I remember struggling to fix in a previous pass through the draft. And I'm sure that the way to fix this is to just delete it. Like, instead of spending dozens of words trying to describe the interior of an albergue, maybe I just describe shit. But I'm like, this building, it is a hollowed out church. It has the columns and all the moulding and stained glass windows, like all the churchiness, but instead of being a church, it's accommodation for pilgrims. And they've created a second floor, but I'm assuming to kind of protect the columns and all the stuff on the walls. The second floor doesn't actually hit the wall, it's like a raised platform that kind of floats in the middle. So you go up the stairs kind of in the corner and then you walk along a glass floored platform and there's a rail next to it and you can like look over and down at the people who are staying on the ground floor. This is not relevant to the plot. No one goes over the rail, no one, sees a friend on the ground floor and starts shouting at them. It's just the space that they're in. They could be on the ground floor for all the story actually matters. But I've spent like an hour now trying to describe it or re-describe it, because I have already described it, but shittily, and I'm trying to make it better and work the description in more closely with the actions, which is something I've talked about needing to do. I should just delete it. I should just delete it. But the building. I don't want to delete it. Anyway, so that's my update. I actually got distracted because the sprints I was doing finished, and well, we're wrapping up and I left early, to be honest, but we'll say they finished. And I went to go check Facebook and I saw someone posted an article about COVID and the issues that hospitals are having responding, and the rapid way that people decline and things. And my friend commented something about avoiding visiting Te Whanua Apanui this summer, and I was like, that's my iwi, what the hell are you talking about? And I read through the article and it was about New York, and I'm like, what? So I had to go on this search trying to figure out what has happened with Te Whanua Apanui that my friend was talking about it in relation to a news article about what's happening in New York. I found what's happening. I was very scared, like so scared, because it's a small community, very limited resources, very high indigenous population, and I was just like, oh god, what's happened? Like, has Delta gotten into this small community with few resources? And oh my god, and it turns out, oh my god, the pride. I didn't know this because I've not actually spent any portion of my life in the like tribal territory. I've always lived away, even though that's where I whakapapa to. So anyway, I didn't know the situation there, but I assumed that everything was fine because I hadn't seen anything in news, so I got this big fright. And I went and I checked, and before Delta even arrived in New Zealand, that community was like, right, we need to be vaccinated right now, and managed to get themselves up to 80% double vaxxed before Delta arrived. I'm like, oh my god, so proud. And the reason they're sort of now appearing in the news again is because this week, apparently, it didn't show up on my feed originally, but apparently they have asked that holidaymakers who typically like flood the area during summer because beautiful coastal region, they have asked those people not to come, and just said, no, we have limited resources, we want to make sure that we have enough resources for our locals, so if this is not your home, don't come. Which is extraordinarily inconvenient because I was actually intending to go there this summer if it wasn't for COVID, because that's the region that I need to visit for research purposes for my book. Theoretically, the exact wording of the article was like, if you don't whakapapa from this area, then do not come. And I'm like, well, technically I do. However, I shall stay away and respect that this is a place I don't need to go, and that doesn't need me to be there. So yes, kind of a combination of disappointment and pride following a dose of fear. So I'm now feeling a little bit kind of jangled, I guess. Like, there was just this, oh my god, what has my tiny little iwi done to be in the news when there's a pandemic? Oh my god, what's happened? And it's like, only good things, hooray! Now that it is 4 o'clock, we are outside of the key burn time, which means it is no longer like suicide o'clock for me to leave the house. Not that I haven't been out of the house twice already today, but I would like to go to one of the independent bookstores that's near-ish to where I live and pick up a copy of the first book of the Wheel of Time series, because I've been thinking for a few months that I should read it, mostly because I started watching Daniel Green's channel. It's 100% his fault. All the previous reviews I've heard of the series from other people did nothing, but I don't know, there's something about his brand of enthusiasm for it has sold me. And I want to hurry up and get the first book and read it, oh my goodness, before the series gets spoiled because of people talking about the series on Netflix. So I thought I should do that, and I also need to visit a completely different store that's in a completely different direction to buy a Christmas present, because I found a place that has this particular item for like $10 cheaper than anywhere else that I looked. But one of these shops is that way and the other one is that way, and if I go to both in one hit, it'll be, I'd say 10 maybe a little bit further, but we'll say minimum 10 kilometers on top of the 10k I've already done. And most of it will be up, not most of it, a big chunk of it will be uphill. This is not very good planning. So what I should probably do is just pick one of the stores. They're all hot and sweaty, so there had to be a costume change. On the upside, I quite like this cover. It's much more appealing than the version that I've always seen is like that symbol in different colours on each book, but the book is primarily black and there's like I think a coloured banner or lettering or something along the top. I've seen those in bookshop stores my entire life and never even picked the book off the shelf to read the blurb because they just looked that unappealing. So I think honestly if I had seen this book cover, you know, 20 years ago, I would have read this series then. I'm not particularly impressed with the sticker that isn't a sticker, but nonetheless I have acquired the book. Random aside, buy from independent bookstores. This cost me the same as I would pay at like the big Solar store. Okay, so New Zealand books are horrifically expensive, but within the realm of New Zealand pricing, this size book for $28 before the discount I had, not bad. Actually, I would say that's dead on average. I've been buying my books at the independent bookstore for the last couple of years and there has been no appreciable difference in the price. Every now and then you might find like this one individual book is $1 more at one store versus the other, but sometimes it's the big Solar's corporate that's the one that's, you know, an extra $1 or $5 compared to the independent, whereas usually the independent is the same or less. Like I think I found the independent bookstore being significantly more expensive once. Like, go to the independent bookstores. Don't support Amazon, local businesses, and save money. Like, what's the problem? And I mean, if I had ordered this, it would have taken weeks. Like my last book, I only just got it. I ordered it in September. This, I bought it the same day got it, I should say, the same day I decided to buy it. All the wins. Stop buying from Amazon. Okay, I'm gonna stop ranting now. It is now 6:46. I am going to hydrate. And then I think I'm going to move on to the next thing in my story that I need to fix and stop struggling with that same paragraph. I think that one's probably going to be something that I'm going to have to revisit a few times, so for now I'm just going to move on to the next one. Obviously I got off to a really rocky start today and I am not surprised because I've had quite a rocky couple of days, but I think using this morning and a big chunk this afternoon to just do whatever I wanted, going for a walk with a friend, going and buying a book, reading a different book, just doing whatever I wanted for over half a day really helped. Like I am actually a bit more excited now than I was this morning, even though it is now 8 p.m. and I need to be wrapping this up. So I'm gonna do that and hope that the good feelings continue into tomorrow. Wish me luck. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like, and if you're new around here, maybe consider hitting subscribe and ringing that bell so you can stay up to date, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.